You're Gulf, and
Yeah,
there are
we're
no
Gulf.
reply speeches, okay?
Yeah.
During another person's speech, please mute yourself until or unless you ask a POI.
Okay.
Abra, the link to the YouTube video is in the chat box.
I'll forward it to Shabab.
Yeah.
Okay, since we're live, I hereby declare the debate ready to proceed. If you would be as kind, the Prime Minister of the proposition, please step forward onto the podium.
All right. Give me 30 seconds. Just turn on the watch. 8-minute speeches, right?
Yes, do you have a timer?
Yeah, I have a timer.
Good.
Give me 10 seconds. All right. Starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Thank you, Honorable Chair, for giving us the floor. So, this entire debate, where do we debate this entire debate? What's the context of this entire debate? Well, first of all, we want to define these criminals, these parents, as being criminals who are being convicted for petty crimes, and when they are committing their crimes, they are pregnant at that point of time. So this tells you two things. First of all, the parent is obviously a female who is pregnant at the time that she commits the crime, and second of all, she was committing the crime for a petty act. If the criminal is someone who does really ravacious things like kill multiple people, we are not allowing our policy, which will come later on, for these criminals. So we are only allowing our policy to stand for those pregnant women who get convicted for petty crimes only. Now, what is our policy? Yes, we will allow parents to bring up the children behind bars, but our policy is that they will only be brought up behind bars for a certain number of years. For our policy is that we bring them up behind bars for the initial 5 to 6 years, and that's when they are brought up behind their bars, and later on they would be allowed to enjoy their elementary school in the outside world. But to make a couple of things clear, at that initial 5 to 6 year stage, the children will have nursery schools within the jails themselves, within the prison themselves, because those things already exist in the status quo. So that is how we make sure that within that 5 to 6 year tenure, they still get that education, that preliminary education that they need to get. So that is our entire context and how we characterize the prisoners themselves as to being petty criminals, and not criminals who killed multiple people or being convicted for a very big crime. Now, I will, in my substantive case, I will talk to you about how it is very much necessary for the children to be with their parents, to be with their mother, it's very specifically at this very early age. And number two, I will also tell you the disadvantages of the foster homes. My second speaker, Antar, is going to extend on the harms or the disadvantages of foster homes in her speech. Now, moving on. Now, why is it very much necessary for these children to stay with their parents at this very young age? There are 2 points to this. Number one, there is a health concern. And number two, there is a very much mental concern of the children themselves. Now, to support my first point, how their health is being affected. Remember that these children are born in the prison themselves. The parents are pregnant while they are convicted when they go to prison. So they come out as basic toddlers, right? So they need the breast milk of their parents, of their mothers, to actually grow substantially, because that's biologically proven to be much better than what they give in the market, right? And that is something that they don't get if they're brought up in foster homes. Now, that is a very real point. That is very much necessary for the children's growth and for their overall health development. So that is why, that is number one point, why it is very much necessary for them to stay with their parents in behind bars. That's the number one health concern. And number two is, we are also thinking about how it affects the mental ability of the children to accept their parents later on, right? So if for the first 5 to 6 years they stay with their parents, they will realize and be much more accepting to the fact that their parents are criminals, right? If you take them away from that young age when they don't get to see their parents ever and not bond with them like they would in our model, then at a later stance they will not be accepting that their parents are actually criminals, right? If they do enter foster homes, the point of bullying comes into context, right? They will be really, they will be bullied by other kids when they get to know that this child is in this foster home because not because he doesn't have a parent or his parents put him up for adoption. No, because their parents are a criminal. That will harm the mentality of the child at that very young age. And that is where our model solves this problem, where we let these children be with their parents for the first 5 to 6 years, and later on we put them out into the real world, so that even if they are taunted for their pedigree, they will be much more accepting to who their parents really are. And another point is, if sometimes foster parents, if they do take up these children and these children are grown up in foster homes, they might not reveal the identity of their true biological parents. Now that is very much non-beneficial, because when at one point of time these children will be exposed to the true reality, that who their parents actually are. So at the age of 7 to 8, if they are told that real fact that their parents are criminals, they will be mentally shocked. They can't cope up to the thought that their parents are criminals, whereas the parents of their friends are regular people. They can't accept that fact later on, right? Because they're shocked at that very young age, at the age of 7 to 8 years old, and when they first find out that their parents are criminals. So that is another reason why we want to keep these parents within the prison system for the initial 5 to 6 years, to build a bondage, to accept who their parents actually are, but at the same time they will also get the benefits of education, because nursery systems do exist within that prison curriculum. And also there are other people, just to give you a fact over here, there are about 1,500 babies in prisons in America right now who are growing up within prisons. So it's not like they won't be able to bond with other children. They will be able to bond with other children. There are nursery homes within those prisons, and hence they will be able to communicate, and hence also when they get out of the prison curriculum, they could make friends for life and understand each other throughout their entire journey, right? So they will not be the only one facing those taunts later on. And even if they are, as I have told you, they will be much more accepting to those taunts, because now they know who their parents really are and are much more accepting to who they are. So that is why our entire case stands. My partner Antar will tell you the further disadvantages of foster homes and how they might face greater abuse over there and whatnot. But to summarize my entire case stance, I would like to tell you why it is. I've showed you why it is very much necessary for these children to stay with their parents, who just committed petty crimes, mind you. Petty crimes is the key word over here. And stay with their parents and get the health benefits from their best breast milk, and also be integrated with their curriculum system, and hence get the education that they so direly need, but at the same time bond with their parents for the initial 5 to 6 years before they go out to the real world and be much more ready to face the reality and live with the fact that their parents are criminals. So these are two things that I think makes our entire case substantial and makes it plausible for children to stay with their parents and be raised behind bars for the initial 5 to 6 years. So we are not taking away their freedom. They will know much more better what their parents are, and hence go into society and withstand all kinds of shock that might come later on when they get to know that their parents are criminals, and hence they're not shocked. They live a much better, they have no identity shock, as to say, and hence they are much more integrated with the society and their family altogether. So that's how I would like to end my speech. Thank you.
Here.
8 minutes, 10 seconds.
That was a good speech, but why did no one ask any point of informations?
That's the funny part.
Okay.
Abrar, I'm gonna tell you that after the debate's over.
That's
like,
alright.
at least why I didn't ask you guys.
Oh, no problem. Okay, sure. So
Give me just a few seconds. Just a few seconds. Let me turn the timer on.
Yeah. Oh, I have to invite you to the stage. I hereby invite the leader of the opposition onto the podium to give a speech. You're here.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for giving me the floor. Now, do not think I'm lying when I tell you that this has been the most extreme characterization that I have ever debated till date. Okay, because the side government is going to pass this motion for pregnant women. Not they have not even put the concept of a single fathers here. It's just women and pregnant women. Moreover, it's women who did petty crimes, so the crime is going to be very, very like it's a small crime, so they are not going to put the criminals who commit severe crimes in this case. And moreover, they have also said the time that the sentence should not be more than 5 or 6 years. Understand this is such an extreme conversation that you have not given side opposition a ground to debate on, right? When we have debates, we have to have it in at least a little more broader perspective, right? So basically, let side opposition bring in a more global perspective, right? So first of all, passing this motion just for pregnant women who serve a sentence of 5 to 6 years does not make any sense at all, right? Because the alternative to this could be that when the pregnant woman is acquitted guilty for the crime, when the judge can easily pass a sentence that's saying that, look, when your child is about 5 to 6 years and he can be taken care of by somebody like your relative or a foster care home that is available in the status quo right now, then we can ask you to serve your sentence, right? Or whatever the sentence that is. That is an alternative that we can have for these women, right? We don't have to input this entire motion in the first place. But I think that the motion did not ask for that. I think the motion asked for something more global and more, something that's more mainstream, right? Not a kind of prison where it's okay for babies and other toddlers to be in, but rather a violent prison filled with sex offenders and other criminals that's actually harmful for children to be around, right? So what is the model that our side supports? Our side is supporting the status quo here, right? So the children, this motion we believe should be for all single parents regardless of gender or whether they're pregnant or not, and all children who have single parents, if their parents are going to prison, they will either be taken care of by their relatives or foster family, or they can have protective children facilities specifically for that. And first of all, a few points of rebuttal. Number one, the second point of the first argument was that it's not taken. The second point of the first argument was that there's a mental concern for the child, right? So the child will not have any contact with their parent. As a result, they will not know the true values of a parent or what a parent really is to them. As a result, they'll never know their parent properly, right? We tell you that won't happen. Why? Because even in regular prisons all around the world, the normal context of prisons, it's permissible for prison visitors, right? So their child can visit them multiple times in every week, and by that the contact point they can have enough contact with their parents. This does not come to play. But moreover, their first point of the first constructive not taken. The first point of the first constructive was about breast milk and how a toddler cannot survive without the mother. Right. For that, I've already given the alternative. Right. That the judge can make a special like a special deal for that prisoner, that after the baby is born and after a few years until it can be taken care of by somebody else, until that point we are not going to prosecute the victim, right? So that way the first concern is there, because understand that if we are to protect pregnant women, we don't have to pass such a large motion anyway, right? Because the motion is targeting a really small group of people, right? If we want to target that small group of people, a judge or somebody with that kind of power can easily do it without the need of passing this motion, right? But moreover, the third point was that the harms of the foster home. Now here's the thing where we have a problem, right? We firmly believe that the harms of the foster home, such as bullying, is much less than the harm of being in a normal prison, right? Not a fancy prison such as the not fancy prisons like the Boston in Norway or Ofago in New Zealand, which are considered some of the most luxurious prisons all over the world, right? Because prisons are more like the ones in like the more prison is a what is a prison, right? A prison is a place where criminals are put in. Why? Because they have committed something wrong, and as a result, that's a punishment, right? So basic, even if you think with a basic mind, your common sense says that you shouldn't put a child there because a child has not committed the crime, and moreover, a child does not deserve to be in that group of people, right? So it's completely unfair for to put a child there. That's why we believe that putting a child in a foster home is a better and a lesser evil, right? Moving on to constructive. Yeah, sure.
Sir, you do realize that we're talking about infants over here. They're not watching TV or, you know, taking poolside swimmings or something. They need the basic thing that their parents can give within those prison cells. And we have already made you clear that there are nursery schools where these children are cared for.
Sure, no problem. But the beginning of your speech specified that the purpose of passing this motion was to protect those pregnant women, right? And we believe that we don't need to pass this whole motion just to protect that group of people, right? A judge can extend the sentence or not even extend the sentence, just apply the sentence at a later date when the child is a little more grown up, right? That way your problem, the main objective that you identify, is getting solved by that way. We don't have to implement this large motion, right? So moving on to constructive, I have basically two constructives here. First of all is the inherent environment of prisons, and second of all, the child does not deserve to be here. Now the environment of prison, understand that this is a place where you will have sex offenders and pedophiles and people that are potentially harmful for children, right? There's no denying that. And we believe that regardless of how many nursery homes you have in the prison, it's not safe to put a child in the reach of these people, right? We believe that a child should be, even if they're in a not taken, even if they're in a foster home, it's better for them because they're in a home. They're in an environment which is inherently safe, as opposed to a prison environment which is inherently harmful, right? So the basic comparison there shows that foster homes is still a better place, regardless of how much abuse that can have, which is not much if you ask me, because compared to a prison, that's nothing, right? So we believe that inherently the prison environment is very harmful for the child, and we shouldn't put them there. And but moving on to my second constructive, like, the children do not deserve to be there. Well, first of all, it's the parent who committed the crime, right? And a prison is a place where it's a form of punishment to criminals, right? So that is where we send the parent to atone for their crimes. Why would we put the children there? It does not make any sense. We do not, and moreover, there can be situations in prison such as prison rape or prison violence, which is very common. So imagine like being there and seeing your parent getting beaten up or getting abused, right? We think that is a more likely situation that can turn up, and we believe that if a child witnesses this is going to be more harmful than all the benefits that government has mentioned so far in this speech. We believe that we do not want to take this gamble and we do not want to take this gamble and have the potential of harm to this extent. We're very proud to oppose this motion. 8 minutes 29 seconds.
Here. Antar, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, that being said, as chair, I invite the DPM of the proposition side to speak at the lecture. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, understand that the opposition in this case is woefully ignorant of the current situation that we're living in. We have countless cases, thousands of cases, where mothers go into prison pregnant, go into prison as convicts, and they give birth in the prison hospitals. As a result, the children who they give birth to grow up in those prisons. That is actually the status quo that is going on. In USA, there are in every prison there are at least like a fair number of children who grow up in those prisons, and the facilities provided there are actually decent, honorable speaker, because there are nurseries, there are library facilities, there are playhouse facilities, there are nurses over there who are taking care of the children. But most importantly, they are close to their mothers, honorable speaker. Now let's start off with a few reports. I already told you about how they're ignorant about the current status quo that's going on. They talk about how there can be single fathers who are going to take care of the children, but honorable speaker, that's absolutely ridiculous, because why, like, what actually happens in these cases? The mothers who have no way of fending for themselves are going to desperation, go into resorting to the last that they have, that is of crime, of stealing money, of pickpocketing, of money laundering, these sort of petty crimes that are in them years of sentences. And this is how they end up in prisons, because they have to fend for their child, and since they did not have any other option, they opted for the last resort that they had. So when they go into prison with their child in their womb and with the responsibility of bringing up their child, that's when, honorable speaker, the benefits of our side come in. I've talked to you about the benefits of having the mother close to the child in my constructive case. So single fathers are not possible, because what happens? No father is going to go into prison and want to take their child with them to prison. That's ridiculous, because first of all, fathers don't get pregnant, and secondly, these fathers, if they are the father of children, they're not going to bring their children to prison, because that's not an option for them. But since, why do children stay in prison in the first place? Because they go to children in the mother's womb. So they talk about how there will be contacts for visits to the prison, but we do not aim for that. We aim for the proper bond of motherhood that they deserve. We aim and advocate for the kind of bond with motherhood as a kind of love that only their birth mothers can provide to them. No foster care can provide to them the kind of care, emotional support, and the kind of love that a birth mother can provide. And my first speaker has also talked to you about the health visas. And beyond
POI, ma'am.
No, and they talk about luxurious prisons and whatnot. No, honorable speaker, if you look up at the current status quo, most prisons do have the facilities that we're talking about, have children who have to stay with their mothers because of the advantages that I'm going to talk about. Understand the male and female convicts are kept separate, honorable speaker. So if the opposition is worried about pedophiles, that is actually a problem. And the mothers are also kept separate, because they need to take care of their children. So they're kept separate from the non-mothers female convicts. So moving on to my constructive case after the rebuttals. Understand, honorable speaker, we talked about... no, sir, later. So understand that we need to prioritize the child's needs above everything else. We need to give him the kind of environment where where he will not be deprived of motherly love, honorable speaker. Because as the opposition has quoted, the child has nothing to do with the crime. He does not deserve to be stripped of every of the worldly, emotional support that his or her mother can give. That is invaluable, honorable speaker. The sacred bond between a mother and a child is going to be absolutely disturbed by the opposition's model. What we want is this child to have a kind of environment where he can flourish in, where he can emotionally and psychologically thrive in. Because without the mother's shelter of love and kindness in the first initial years of his childhood, there is no way that he can be able to go to mainstream society and have that kind of self-confidence, self-esteem to be able to cope with the kind of identity crisis and inferiority complex that he's likely to face. Why is he going to face these things? Because when he's going to go to mainstream society to identify himself as a part of the society, people are not going to accept him. People are going to discard him as the child of a convict. People are going to, as my first speaker said, bully him into feeling that he doesn't belong anywhere, that he does not know where he comes from. So it is absolutely imperative that he stays with his mother in the first few years of his childhood, so that he does not be deprived of the motherly love that every single child in this world is entitled to, and B, so that he does not face any kind of inferiority complex that he is very likely to face under the opposition's model, and thirdly, so that he can cope with all the difficulties that he will face from the mainstream society that is harsh, that is going to be harsh towards him, is going to flow. And this power to cope is going to come from the initial years when he's going to be with his mother in prison. So, as I'm done with that, yes, sir.
So you said that that pregnant women go commit petty crimes because it's their last resort. Isn't that your fault as a government of not providing them the basic needs?
So you are not going to be able to eliminate poverty overnight. These are problems that we have to solve or tackle with over the years. We are going to deal with the people right now, and we're going to think about poverty, which is not about of this dictator. So move on. I'm going to talk to you about how mothers actually become more responsible, aware, and well-intentioned, and better citizens because they're given this opportunity to be able to take care and bring up their child in the first few years. Understand why? Because they get this epiphany of responsibility, Honorable Speaker. They understand that they have been given this sacred chance of having the thing that they love the most, their child, close to them, even though they have done something illegal or wrong. They understand that this is their opportunity to rectify themselves. They then reflect in the best way. I understand that when they are sent to jail, that is the first motive of sending them to jail, right? Reflection of rectifying themselves, and this comes much better under our model because they feel that this rectifying sense or this psychology is much more enhanced by their child when they understand that this is a sacred responsibility, that is maternity, that is thrust upon them. So they surround their lives around the child. They understand that this responsibility that is given to them is it's an opportunity, so they become more responsible, more aware, and better citizens that can be introduced into mainstream society later on. And then I'm going to talk to you about how my first speaker has already talked to you about the harms of foster home and how it is in no way equal to the motherly love that their mothers can give. And when in these first few years you're going to be near your mother, even though it's you're still going to have the facilities that you're going to have a life close to any other child. So the harms that the opposition talk about do not come in, because the prison is obviously going to try to keep those children away from the traumas that a prison can impose on them, because they did not use traumas. Also, they talk about how we have given an extreme characterization, but understand, Honorable Speaker, that even the government is not irrational enough to pose threats on the children, like keeping them with their murderer mothers, because we're not going to keep the children with murderers. Hence, we say that the mothers are the ones who have done petty crimes as a last resort to enter the prison with their child in their wombs. So you understand that the identity crisis they face is going to be much more they're going to be able to tackle it much better if they spend the first few years with their children, and then when they grow up, they're going to be much more accepting of who they are, of their identity, and who their parents were. Can I have the time? Hello?
Yeah, I believe you've done 8 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to sum up by saying that mothers become more responsible. Children are the trauma and isolation from the family that the children are posed a threat of is prevented, because these children are not going to stay in some stranger's house, and they're going to stay with their birth mothers, which is a much better scenario for them. And the harms that the opposition talk of the prison trauma and the mother getting beaten, these are absolutely not there in the scenario, because you need to be aware of the kind of status quo that is going on. There are nurseries, there are libraries, there are playhouses and nurses, and the mothers are kept on the mothers are kept on surveillance and whatnot. So there is no way that this child is going to be posed to threats and harm and abuse and offend and whatnot. So I'm going to end my speech by saying that it is absolutely imperative that we not deprive this child of the motherly bondage that he or she is entitled to, and there are benefits on our side where the mother is going to reflect and rectify herself much better. And why fathers are not in this scenario is because they do not go into prison with their children. Thank you.
Here, here. Okay.
So before I begin, I couldn't hear a lot of things because the voice was unclear, so I might not address all of the stuff. Like,
Okay.
Acha, Asif, take
sorry
one
about
Do you want Antar to tell you wait? Do you want Antar to tell you the main comparatives of this speech, or do you want tell you?
it's fine, I think, whatever I have.
No, because if you don't address her things, you might not be able to be on the winning side, because sometimes when you miss out important questions, that's a big problem.
Also, all right. Okay. But,
Okay, look, one good thing is, one of her points from the point of government side was that should a child be deprived of the maternal affection? Like, if you do that, there's support system, coping mechanism, you're taking it away from him. And when this child grows up, he's going to, have an identity crisis.
also, all right.
Asif, take one last look at the picture.
Abrar,
Yeah?
Abrar, could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Like, could you hear me in my speech for the 8 minutes?
I noted it down, yeah.
I mean, like, could you uninterruptedly hear me?
No, I could hear you just fine. I didn't have any problem.
Okay, great.
Asif, one last look at the prep chat.
Also, so when you're ready to start, just go 3, 2, 1 and begin.
Wait, let me just start the watch.
Sure.
It is incredibly sad that the debate has devolved into a debate about the motion. And it is also sad that the Gov side has chosen a very narrow aspect of the entire problem. But let's assume that the motion is about what they say and debate it on their ground. So first of all, they have said how it is only restricted to female parents and only pregnant women, and one of their point was that only mothers can give the love that they require, and foster parents cannot give the love. Now, to understand this, we have to know the context in which the debate is happening. The society is such that foster parents are certified by a centralized system where the government actually checks whether foster parents are capable of giving the love and support system that they require. So only when these foster parents are capable are the children given to them. They are given under themselves. It's not that foster parents are random people in society who are not tested and verified of their ability without giving them the children. So only those that are and will be able to give them the love that they need, will give them the support they need, will be given the child in the first place. So this problem does not even this problem does not even arise in the first place. And secondly, another thing is they talked about is the identity crisis, that they will not know about their parents and that they will not feel like they know where they came from. Now that will be addressed by by allowing them to visit their parents from time to time. There's absolutely no need to have them live there 24/7 to know their parents and to know their identities and what they have done and the crime they have done to actually take care of that. So to say that they have to live there all of their 5 to 6 years is absolutely unnecessary. And they have talked about how they are going to be bullied in school if they are given in a foster care. I don't think that is the case. Yeah, taken.
So do you realize that these convicts' children are going to be the last people that the foster care system is going to care about, because they're going to be posed with the discrimination that they are convicts, children of convicts.
They are going the foster care is the foster parents who actually take in the children of other people. You have to understand they're the most empathetic people of society. They're not some very judgmental type of people who take in other people. They are people who want to help others, who want to help bring the child of others that are disadvantaged. So you cannot just say that they're going to be judgmental and it's not going to give the love that they deserve.
Here,
And
here.
is going to be tested a lot by the government. We're not just going to give to a random person, as I've said. Another thing, as I've been saying, they've said about how they'll be bullied in when they go to school. Now the problem is larger when you don't send them to foster care, when their identity is that they are with the in the prison. Now only if you separate this identity and build another identity that is more in line with the foster parent and not as much with the with those in prison is, and they can develop a different identity which they can actually be proud of and that they will not be bullied for. So if you have, if they are brought up in a foster, not taken, if they're brought up in a foster by foster parents, they're not going to be as much bullied in society, and because their identity is not as much with them, and they don't even have to tell school and the students that their parents are convicts or whatever. Another thing that they have said is about the rectification of the parents would be much more if they allow the children to be there. But this is absolutely, this may or may not be true, but the point is, this is not where the debate lies. The debate lies about the upbringing and the welfare of the children and not the parents. The primary debate, the primary interest we have to look out for is the interest of the children, because the effect that is going to be on them is going to be throughout their life, and whatever effect they have on the parents will be short-term and temporary because they are adults. So with that, I would like to end my rebuttal. So let me go to my constructive and development of Nayyar's points. So one of the things that Nayyar have said that they will see them in humiliating positions. So things such as like parents, their parent would be crying often because of the position they're in. There might be prison fights, etc. Even this is even true for women. Let's not assume that fights don't happen in for female prisoners. So they're going to see them in humiliating position, and this is going to be traumatic for the rest of their life. So they're going to see them in such positions, and they're also going to feel like their parents are not good enough, that they deserved it, and there's going to be also self-blaming as well, because they find themselves in such a position, and they might think that it is because of them that it is because of their own choices, because precisely because people are put into prison for their actions, and when they're not put into that for action, they'll find ways of blaming it on themselves if they don't find proper reason for it. Not taken. Also, living behind bars, they will internalize that they themselves are evil, and they're going to have very low self-esteem. Because understand, the prison system is where there is the society's very not disappointed, like society sees people in prisons as lowest of the low, and as a result, being in that situation and being raised there, they're going to internalize that they themselves are the lowest of the low, and as a result, they're going to have low self-esteem, and throughout their life, this is going to impact them negatively, as they cannot not taken, and they cannot actually self-actualize them completely because of their low confidence, and this will lead to low economic performances and social performances. And another point that needs to be made is that the decision will be made, most likely be made by the parent, whether they're going to allow their child in prison or not. And this is a problem because the parent will most likely be think more about their own self-interest, that is to say, seeing their own child every day, and not what is best for the children. They will be more affected by what is best for themselves. And they're going to probably rationalize it by saying it is also best for the children as well. And another thing is that bullying will take place more in school, because you see, when the children are brought up in prisons, they're going to identify themselves as that. And when such a large time of their life is spent in prison, this is going to have a significant effect on their childhood narrative. So when they go and talk to people about how they were brought up, this thing will always come up. And as a result, because society sees prison as being intrinsically bad place and stuff like that, there's a lot of negative connotation. These people will be picked out on and bullied a lot, and this will affect them throughout their life. And another thing is that they cannot have a stable, loving life inside of a prison that they can have outside. Not taken. So things like, say, for example, going to watch movies, this can't be done. Going out and eating outside, these can't be done. And these customs cannot be learned by the children if they are in these prison facilities. So this is something that they cannot give in their world, and this will negatively impact them for the rest of their life, traumatize them, etc. And this will destroy their lives to a large extent, and the only way to do is to allow them to be taken in foster care. Extremely proud to oppose.
Here, here, here. Okay, with that being said, may I call the government whip to take the stage?
Yeah, give me a couple of seconds.
Sure.
Sure, to Facebook as well.
Sure.
You have a minute to prep and everything. Asif, how long have you been debating? Just asking, that was good.
Sixth debate, I think, this one.
That was good, man.
Thanks.
Impressive.
এই আবরার প্রিভিয়াস পেপার কি অবস্থা?
এত ভালো না, অনেক রিসার্চ করছি, বাট অর্গানাইজ করতে হবে।
তোমাদের স্কুল খুলছে?
স্কুল খোলা নাই, মানে এসএসসি অবস্থা খারাপ। আগে নিচে আমরা মিট আপ করতাম স্কুলে, তারপর মানে ক্যান্টিনে বসে দিস মানে কাজটা করে নিতাম। এখন তো ইন্টারনেট মাধ্যমে সব করা সম্ভব না।
এক্স্যাক্টলি, আমাদের স্কুল খুলতেছে না, আমাদের রিসার্চ হইলে কি হবে? উই নিড টু মিট আপ এন্ড প্রেপ, কিচ্ছু হচ্ছে না।
I have one suggestion, like এখন তো আমরা গুগলে ডিসকাস করছি, রাইট? সো তোমরা সিমিলারলি তোমার প্রি-ওয়ার্লডস টিমে তিনজন মিলে জাস্ট হ্যাংআউটসে ডিসকাস করো আর তোমার চ্যাটে লিংকগুলো শেয়ার করো। Not this chat.
Yeah, that's possible. হ্যাঁ, বাট স্কুলে যেরকম সবাই মিলে করতাম ওইটা তো হচ্ছে না। And that's more convenient.
The main problem is life will make plans for you. So the best thing you can do is act, right? So
yeah.
I'm beginning, right? Abrar, will I start?
Yeah, please.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, airway. So side opposition today has tackled our entire argument by making two very clear points. Number one, is it worth for these children who haven't committed any crime to live in this prison environment that is, in their point of view, very hostile? And number two, aren't foster homes a better alternative? That's the entire gist of the case from the opposition side. Now, the opposition side has made claims such as that these children having to grow up in these prisons due to our model will be prone to abuse, will be prone to sex offenders and all those kind of things, and they will be prone to seeing their own mothers being bullied or being offended by other prisoners. Now understand how we tackle this entire situation. We tackle this entire situation from our side by making it clear to you that these children are not at very specifically staying with their mothers in their own very own cells. There are nurseries for these children. And second of all, if these will these violences actually occur? Will they actually have to see these violences being played in front of them? Right? Now understand these are single female parents that we're talking about, who go to female prisons, right? Now understand that in a female prison there are only other females, right? Now understand, if we pass our model from our side, there will be other pregnant women, other pregnant females in that very own. Sorry, not taken now. There will be other pregnant women in that prison system, right? Now understand, if we do this, the chance of violence decreases substantially, because we are providing a banner, right? We're providing a banner for these females to gather under, and hence it will be much less likely, and if not at all, that these women will be prone to violence, right? Because now other women will be much more respecting to a pregnant woman. There are much more pregnant women within the actual prison system, right? So that is how we provide a banner for these women to actually stand and, take it. I'll take it later, and hence actually allow no violence to occur, right? Now understand another thing that the side opposition has brought up, right? They've brought about how foster parents could be the best initiative, and they could come and visit their parents from a time-to-time basis. Now understand why this would not work. First of all, two reasons. Foster parents, they are at the end of the day humans. There will be very few foster parents actually taking into their lives the children of convicts, right? And even those who do, first of all, will not, if they love them so much, will not actually tell them that their parents are convicts, because they do care about their children, don't they, right? As the side opposition has pointed out. So why would they at that very young age show those convicts those convicts, right? So basically you do understand that these foster parents will never in any case do such an act, right? Bring them to show them their real parents are actually convicts, right? And number two,
before you move on, sir,
sorry, sir. If that actually occurs, if what side opposition proposes that actually happens, it further supports our case of an identity crisis, as pointed out by my second speaker, right? So if the children at that very young age, when he or she starts making decisions in life, sees that she has two groups of parents, right? How will she accept who to if in a class the teacher asks who are your parents, how will he or she decide whom to introduce, right? That's an identity crisis, and that's the structure. That's something that plays on their mind all the time, right? And hence that's when they face social bullying. That's when they face the lack of making the ability to make a decision, right? So they're caught between a rock and a hard place. They don't know who their real parents are, and second of all, they don't know if they should actually introduce their convict parents as their own parents or their foster parents, right? So understand, that's how the entire thing plays out. First of all, the foster parents are very, very highly unlikely to show the convicts to their children, and number two, they will be caught in the identity crisis, further supporting our point. Now understand how this also has a very sub branch into their professional life.
Before you move on, sir,
understand that these children, when they go into their professional life, they will not have the same level of confidence to go into their professional life, because they know for a fact that they have two parents, right? They have two parents where one is a convict and the other isn't. So they will be much more prone to questioning, right? They will be much more prone to they will be much more prone to thinking much deeply about whom to actually introduce as their parents, right? So that is a very big problem, and that plays into their professional career, harming their professional life as always. Now, one last thing, and very importantly, that they talked about is how they are grown up in a prison environment, and hence they're not getting the life standard of a regular kid outside in the world. Understand, we have very much made clear from our first speech that there are other children in that society, in that prison system. There are other children in that nursery And hence this helps us in two ways, right? First of all, you get to bond with children who are in the same situation as you are. Second of all, you're not losing out on your childhood because you have other children to play with. There is a nursery, you get your education, you get your playful time. And third of all, and much more importantly, you have people to communicate with when you go out into the real world, because you know for a certain fact that these handful group of people who have been with you throughout through that 5-6 year tenure, you can relate with them much more, and hence you can create an entire community, a much stronger community of these people who are much more, who in professional life, in schools, will get much more gratitude, right? For if it was one person, there would be bullying. But understand that this goes for a lot of people, a lot of children in those prison systems. When they go out, there'll be a larger group of them, and hence they will get better benefits as a group. As an individual, it will become tough, right? But as they are a group, they will be able to bond with that group. They'll be able to stand under one banner and break any glass ceilings, be it professionally, be it in personal life due to bullying. We can break those glass banners through that group that we already built within that prison system. So throughout our entire case, through our 3 clashes, I've showed to you how we tackle the cases, how the environment is not actually as bad as they're talking about. Number 2, as where violence is actually mitigated because this is a female prison where other female pregnant women are already there. And number 3, we have also showed you why it is very much necessary through my second speaker's speech that a mother must be there with his children to teach them morality and to bring them up in as a good human being, and also bring them up as a healthy human being. And also we have tackled the point as to how having foster parents and putting them through this process that the side opposition has proposed, bringing them to the prison to show them to their convict parents, that can actually lead to an identity crisis. We've showed you how we can mitigate them, allow these children to be within the prison system for 5 to 6 years, and hence professionally and later on life in the long run, they'll have a much larger group of people in that following group, right? And hence we benefit in society altogether. So that's how I would like to end my speech. Thank you.
Here.
8 minutes 30 seconds.
All right, that's it. Okay, for the last.
Could I get a minute?
Sure. No problem.
Abrar, I must ask you, where is this tomorrow profile picture? Where was it shot?
Sorry, one person.
Yeah?
Sorry, what were you saying? Where's mine?
Your picture, right, on this group, where was it shot? Like, where did you take the picture?
Good, Asif, please mute his mic.
I forgot to tell the time. It's I took 8 minutes 40 seconds.
Okay. When you do overtime, mention about the summary as priority. That's not if the constructive. Sorry, Antar, you were saying. Can you type it in the chat?
Yeah. All right.
There's a major echo effect going on.
Yeah, what's the echo effect about?
Basically, when you talk, my speakers are input. So the mic is like heavy input, and this is a perpetual cycle.
Can you hear echo if I speak?
Everyone mute except whoever.
So both Asif and Mariam are reverberating. Hello.
Hello, yeah. What?
Yeah, Danganrongar University.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like haven for photographers. I'm not one, but my eyes are good enough.
Yeah, I just went like beside the university and Uikanteke, it was so beautiful.
Trust me, like try to go in December, মানে সময় ম্যানেজ করতে পারলে প্রজাপতি আসে পাখি আসে, it's just too good.
By the way, my dad's from there, you know.
Oh, he has like is he a professor or works in?
No, he studied there.
Oh, nice. Which department?
Statistics, maths.
Also nice. Is he working in mathematics related job?
No, he's working at a bank now.
Banks do need statistics, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one posted our live stream, will I?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No one's watching. I have 0 viewers here.
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা এখন গিয়ে দিও না পরে after the debates হবে দাও
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। আচ্ছা ব্যাপারটা কি ওয়ার্সে যায় দুজনই নামছে না তো সবাই ওইদিকে চলে গেছে।
Yeah.
But the thing is like they're pretty good right now. So for people like us, we need to improve at every chance we get.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
All right, please proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair, for giving me the floor. As side opposition, our House does not allow single parents in prisons to raise their children behind bars. The environment within a prison is not one that someone would say is a conductive to child rearing. What is a prison? Understand this, that it is a place specifically designed to separate people who cannot live by the rules of society. It is specifically designed for people who has not abided by the rules of society, which is why they're kept separated from the good people of the society so that the good people of the society are not harmed. A child raised in such an environment would also be separated from society and raised in an environment where the mentality of people around is so harmful and they will see so much corruption inside the prisons and will not have any personal space of their own. If we put the children in a place where there is a relatively, if we put many of the foreign prisoners, for international prisons, they have people inside who are child sex offenders. If we put the children in a place where there is a relatively rich number of child sex offenders, then aren't we causing more harm than good? That's just dangerous.
POI, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, you do realize that these children are not in those correctional facilities that those female prisoners always roam around in. At those point of time, they are in those nurseries, and when they are in the cells, they can be with their mothers, right? And their mothers can go into the nursery facilities, and there is security in that prison. That's the main point.
Yes. The proposition only keeps talking about mothers. Where in the motion does it state that by single parents, they were only referring to mothers? Single parent can be a single father as well, and the child may not have a mother. The child may not have a mother. Sorry, someone's speakers needs to be turned off. It's echoing. The child, where in the motion does it say that single parents only refers to mothers? We also know that in most prisons, there are groups of powerful prisoners who bully other prisoners. So, as the side proposition proposes that there will be a separate facility for children, how do we know that the older children in those facilities will not bully the younger children in the same place?
Ma'am?
Yes?
POI. Ma'am, can you please clarify how a father can be in a prison with their child? How can a father be choose to go to prison with their child?
Here.
If suppose a mother of a child has died early and the father does not have any relatives, then the child might need to take their children with them to the prison if they have committed the crime while their child is very young. But our house does not allow this kind of behavior. We believe that children, it is definitely essential for children to bond with their parents, but our model believes that children brought up with relatives or foster families or children facilities will be better off in the long run.
Ma'am, POI?
No, not taken, sir. When we want to debate from a wider perspective. Our side supports the status quo, and this is for all single parents, regardless of their gender and regardless of whether the mother was pregnant at that time or not. We believe that even if the child gets bullied in the foster home, it's still better than being raised in a toxic environment like that of the prison. The side proposition talks about the prisons in USA. We are talking about prisons which offer special benefits for parents and also about prisons where the children are raised alongside prisoners. The side proposition only talks about prisons in developed countries but have the prisons in underdeveloped or developing countries, which is where the number of prisoners is highest and so is the birth rate. What about the children in those places? Coming up with excuses to defend the parent for committing crimes goes against our moral principle. I will now talk about our clash. Our first clash is the proposition thinks that the environment of the prison is better than that of foster parents, but parents for a child's bringing. But not taken, sir. But how does the proposition government assure us that the environment of the children is raised in inside the prison is better than the environment they will be raised in with foster parents? Our second clash is that which model is better for a child's mentality, given that the most of the prisons in this world are not child friendly. We all know if the harm to social, and the proposition also talks about how if they are not raised with their parents and if they're allowed to stay with their foster parents, they begin to have an identity crisis. But the harm to social life of child of having convicted parents won't be solved by the motion because parents will still remain convicted. Secondly, identity crisis is an acceptable trade-off compared to the exposure to prison violence. Prison violence will only be prevented if there is a separate prison just for pregnant women, which is a pseudo foster home. But that is implausible because of the expense.
Ma'am?
No, not taken, sorry. Prisoners themselves aren't safe inside a prison. Then how do the proposition government ensure the safety of children? Child psychologists highly discourage putting children in places where child psychologists even keep on telling parents that it is harmful for them to be in an environment where there is a lot of violence. And you think prison is an ideal place to raise a child just because it would increase the bonding between a mother or a father and its children? Children who are given to foster homes are the people who are chosen to be foster parents are chosen with a lot of background research, and it is made sure that the children of the prisoners get the proper love and care because they are not to be blamed for whatever the situation their parents have been in. And there is no reason why the children should suffer because of something that their parents have done. In an environment, growing up in an environment where the crime, where there is people with bad pasts, where there is sex offenders, how can we ensure that the child will have a bright future? How can we ensure that even if we do agree with the proposition, which we don't, but even if we do say that the children will get to bond better with their parents and as a result this will not let them have an identity crisis, how do we say that whatever they're seeing, if they see their parents getting bullied, if they see their parents getting beaten up, not only do they have to worry about how their parents are convicted criminals, which is why they're in jail, but they also have to see their parents get tortured in front of their own eyes. Our model ensures that kids not only get to spend time with their parents, but also grow up in a safe and better environment that is monitored by the government and different NGOs that ensure their safety and better upbringing than that of in a prison. We are very proud to oppose. Thank you. 8 minutes, 33 seconds.
You're here. Okay, Nair, you can stop going live.
Okay.